Hi, I'm Chris Martirano here with our great friends at Full Compass, and I'm going to be showing you the Studiologic Numa Compact 2X, an additional unit added to the Numa Compact line, packed with very cool features. So let's talk about what makes the Numa Compact 2X so special. First off, Studiologic packed an awful lot of features, which I'll go through in this video, most of them at least. But I want to tell you some of the things that make it unique. First off, it weighs just under 17 pounds. That's unique. The second thing is it features an 88-note semi-weighted action, which feels great. And of course, they included aftertouch, which is amazing. The other thing that they included here is real-time organ modeling. So the drawbars you see on the front panel actually are controlling an organ model underneath the hood. You also have all of the controls you would find on a tone wheel organ, such as you have percussion, decay, and you have the various chorus and vibrato settings. You also have a nice rotary emulation built in. But as if that's not enough, these drawbars can double as physical controllers, sending out over MIDI, over USB, or the MIDI ports. They can also affect the sounds. In all of the sounds in the instrument, of which there are 100, you can control cutoff and resonance using the first two drawbars, or sliders in this case. If you are controlling any of the synthesizer sounds in here, they're fully editable also, where these controls will do things like filter cutoff, filter resonance, amplifier attack and decay, filter attack and decay, and release. And then you also have an LFO, depth and rate control. So a lot of shaping can be done. Then you can run these individual sounds through these dual effects processors, where you can add effects that are common to the various instruments you'd be playing, such as overdrive if it's an organ, or a little overdrive if it's a digital piano or an electric piano of some kind, or things like chorusing, phasing, flanging, delay, things that you would come to expect. Also, in the instrument, you have 2 gigs of sound memory. 1 gig is dedicated to factory samples. The other gigabyte lets the user upload their own samples. This is tremendously flexible. 128 voices of polyphony, as I said, and then 2 gigs of sound memory that you can combine your own with the factory samples, makes it an extremely powerful instrument. On the back, we've got, of course, stereo outputs, headphone outputs, built-in speakers, which you might be able to see looking at the instrument. Those speakers actually are quite powerful, and they sound great if you're rehearsing in a hotel room, or if you're in a back trying to go over some vocals with your group before your gig starts. You can just grab this thing, as I said, very lightweight, and go in and do your rehearsal very quick, and then bring it back out on stage for performance. You also have a USB input, a CC pedal input, and a foot switch input. The USB is high-speed USB, which is great, and it also allows you bidirectionally to transmit and receive MIDI, but also audio. So I can bring audio back into the instrument through the internal speakers, or pass them out through the audio outputs or the headphone output. Very, very powerful instrument. So let's dig in and see what it sounds like, because that's the most important thing. We'll start with the organ emulation, or the organ modeling. And for that, I'm going to start using the drawbars and just show you what they do and the various controls. So I'll just play in real time and be making adjustments to the sound, and you can listen to the organ model. So you can hear all the familiar nuances, the percussion, the key click, the rotary emulation, the chorus vibrato settings. Really cool stuff, and right on the fly, very smooth, no jitter when you move the drawbars. Sounds very, very smooth. If we look at what these controllers can also be used for, I'm going to pick a completely different sound. In this case, I'm going to pick a piano sound, and I'm going to use the same controls just to adjust the cutoff and the resonance. So you can sculpt the sounds and save them. If I'm using any kind of synthesizer sound, in this case I have a pad, I'm going to use the controllers to shape the sound. Things like changing the envelope shape for attack and decay, changing the filtering, adding an LFO, depth, and a rate, and playing around. I haven't really touched the effects yet, but in this case I'm just using a little bit of a room simulation on it. So Studiologic doesn't only give you some synthesizer pads and some synth bass sounds, they also allow you to start from raw waveforms. So I'm going to scroll over to a raw waveform. In this case, I'll just pick a sawtooth wave. And then I'm going to layer it. On the instrument, you have 4 different zones. 2 of them are dedicated to internal sounds. 2 of them are dedicated to MIDI, so you can drive external gear over USB or the MIDI ports. Also, if you're receiving MIDI in, you can now receive on 4 different channels and play the internal sounds. This is great. So if you're using any backing tracks, you can also play back through your instrument and use 4 different channels to play the internal sounds. So right now I'm going to layer this sawtooth with another sawtooth wave. This is classic synthesis 101. And then I'll be able to detune them. So in this case, I'm starting with 2 sawtooths, and I'm going to detune one of them. Through using my shaping, I'm going to shape the filter, and I'm also going to add some release so that the sound will actually sustain a little bit and then release. So now if I start to put this through some of the effects and make it much bigger, I'll put it in a little bit of a hall. I'll add some chorusing to it. And I'm doing all this on the fly, and you get... For me, I like a little delay on every synth, so I'm going to add a little bit of delay here to the sound. And now you'll hear a little bit of delay being added to both. This is just a very simple demonstration to show you kind of the capabilities of the instrument as far as using the synthesizer sounds. There's square waves, saw waves, there's a lot of pads, also synth basses, very useful sounds. And because you can split or layer, you can make some very interesting combinations. In these 100 programs, Studiologic has combined electric pianos, acoustic pianos, things like guitars, bass guitars, orchestra sounds, string sounds, organ sounds, as you saw the organ modeling, and some world percussion, some very interesting world instruments as well. So it's packed with a ton of sounds. Something you definitely want to check out. And to me, every time I pick it up, I just smile because my back feels great. Also, there's a mastering EQ on the front panel. You have bass and treble, and then this master multi-band compressor. So a lot of versatility packed into an instrument of this kind of size, weight, and also price range. Thanks for watching. I'm Chris Martirano. If you need more information, go to fullcompass.com or contact your sales professionals.